The following show is a Pod Avenue production. You are cordially invited to have dinner with the King. Pull up a chair and join WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler and Glenn Moore. Enjoy.
Welcome to Dinner with the King, live here in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm Glenn Moore, joined here by WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler in front of a live audience.
Let's hear from the audience one time.
King Jerry Lawler's Memphis Barbecue Company in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, a lot of people tweet at the show, email, and say, Glenn, do you go down every week to Memphis to record the show? People think we're gonna reveal a little secret for the show. Now that everybody knows.
Pulling back the curtain. Ooh, the reveal is about to happen.
We have never recorded a show together live. We did a panel at WrestleCon.
Yes, we did.
But that
at
was
WrestleMania.
like an official show.
It went out as a podcast, didn't it?
It was a special episode.
Oh, okay. But anyway, you and I were together with the Rock and Roll Express live on stage at the WrestleCon or WrestleMania. Yeah. Okay.
But we never have done a sit-down show together.
In the restaurant.
Correct.
Right.
So this is our first time doing the show face-to-face, sitting down, just enjoying some barbecue, which we did about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and if everybody's not good on the show, it'll be the last time we do it, right?
Correct.
Right, correct.
So we have audience here. So we're going to have some guests come out. Well, not guests, but special appearances by listeners of the show. We have some Memphians that are here that are notable Memphians, correct?
Yes, and a lot of very good friends of mine have made long trips to be here for this podcast. So I'm excited. I'm thankful that everybody came out today. Give yourselves a round of applause because it's been in the teens. Last night, I think it was 8 degrees here in Memphis. And, people from the South don't do well in cold weather like that. No. But everybody has come out today. And look, even outside, look what's going on right outside. Somebody's battery has died right in front of the restaurant in this cold weather, and they're having to get a jump start, hopefully. So anyway, yeah, for everybody to come out and be here today with this bad weather, we really appreciate it.
So speaking of who came, we have some people here from Memphis, but I'm from Cleveland, obviously. We have some people here from where? Mississippi?
Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee. There was a couple of guys that just had to leave because they were from Lexington, Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
And they stayed a while, and they were driving from here to Las Vegas.
Woo!
Ooh. But anyway, yeah, we got some people that have come. Alabama.
There we go.
So we have some people that have come a long way for this.
Now, on New Year's Eve was
You better deliver, Glenn. You better be good today.
I'm always good, according to the numbers.
It was suggested as I walked in before. I got here a little before Glenn today and before.
Yeah, we'll tell that story.
And somebody, I'm not going to say who, I said, Glenn will be here later to start the podcast. And they said, we'd probably do a better one without him. I don't know who said that.
Who said that?
Who said anybody?
Kick him out.
Own up to
Kick
that?
him out.
No.
Get him out of here.
It was.
We're not going to get into that.
Yeah, Glenn has actually been in Memphis for a few days, and we celebrated New Year's. Glenn went down to our club on Beale Street, and we had a big New Year's celebration. And Glenn, Randy, that's another thing we got to talk about. Randy Hales is upset. Randy Hales is our general manager down at the King Jerry Lawler's Hall of Fame bar. Oh, he's mad because we're doing this podcast here and not at the club. So we're going to have to promise to do one at the Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
To make up for the fact that we didn't do the first one.
Well, speaking of the Bar and Grill, the turnout was amazing for New Year's.
Yeah, it was like 14 degrees at midnight when the Gibson guitar dropped, and our club was packed. It was unbelievable. And I got to thank. I'm sure there's people listening because they told me that they do. The Iowa State fans. The Iowa State fans that were in Memphis for the Liberty Bowl were awesome. They came to our club and they loved it, and several hundred of them just came night after night after night and stayed. I didn't think they were ever going to leave, but they did finally. But they were there on New Year's Eve, and the special thing, we furnished a little toast, a little drink of champagne. They brought around the champagne bottles, and everybody had their little glass. And they gave them, maybe like a half a glass. It was, about a half a glass of champagne to everybody. But Glenn asked for an entire bottle.
You got to do it big for New Year's, right? Courtesy of the king.
So Glenn had an entire bottle of champagne, but he paid for it the next day.
Did I?
Right? Yes, you did. I think so. We won't get into that.
No, we won't get that.
Huh? Yeah, he did.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was.
I got pictures of him turning it up.
Yeah.
But anyway, and Happy New Year, everybody, because this is our first podcast of 2018, and we're looking for big things to happen.
And of course, the timing for me coming down for New Year's, and we got Raw in Memphis on Monday.
Did we just run a customer out? We scared a customer away. Glenn, what's wrong with you? That lady opened the door. She started in. She saw all of us sitting here, and she turned around and left. Go ahead.
It's your fault.
My fault, yeah.
We got Raw in Memphis this coming Monday.
This coming Monday.
So that's why I came down, too, was to do a show, New Year's Eve. You got a Raw, the trifecta of days here.
And you're going to go to, we also have the basketball tie-in with wrestling. This is Friday night is the Memphis Grizzlies wrestling night. They have it once a year. I heard, I'm not sure, but I'm almost positive, that Jeff Jarrett is going to be involved in a match. Dave Brown is going to be there. And then the night before, on Thursday night, I'm going to be having a match at the Landers Center in South Haven with the Memphis Grizzlies G League team, the Hustle. Yeah. So it's a big week on them.
Yeah.
Then we got a wrestling match in Selmer, Tennessee, Saturday night. And then, of course, Raw is here Monday.
Yeah, so a big week. That's why I wanted to come down and do this.
And Sunday morning, we've got to tape the next episode of Jerry Lawler's Classic Memphis Wrestling Show. And I think has anybody seen the Classic Memphis Wrestling Show on Channel 30 here in Memphis?
Got to put it on
Almost
YouTube.
everybody. Yeah, I know. Glenn says we got to put it on YouTube or put it on something where they can see it around the rest of the country.
Yeah.
I do get a lot of messages about that. But anyway, I think we're going to have as our special guest this week. First show we had Bill Dundee. Last week we featured Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert and had Dangerous Doug, his brother, on as a guest. This week we're going to have one of my all-time favorites, Jerry Calhoun, is going to be with us, and we're going to go back and look at some of the most famous matches that Jerry refereed, which was almost every famous match that happened in Memphis, Tennessee. If anybody that knows Jerry Calhoun, what do you think would be the most famous match he ever refereed? Andy Kaufman. You're right. I think that would be it too.
Oh, definitely.
And he didn't do my world title match. Jackie Fargo did that. Jerry Calhoun did the Tupelo concession stand match. What was the other one? He also did the famous, and we may show this, the famous one that we show here in the restaurant a lot, the Ric Flair match that got turned into on the TV match. That got turned into a world title match and everything. So we're gonna have Jerry Calhoun on. He should have a lot to. He should have a lot to talk about. But Jerry gets camera shy. When he gets, he's been on TV a million hours, but when you try to put the microphone in front of him, he freezes up sometimes. So we'll try to drag something out of him on this week's show.
Well, my last trip to Memphis was 2 years ago, and I came down for you versus Terry Funk at the Oman Arena up in Jackson. And Calhoun refereed that match as well. So he still referees.
Yes, absolutely. He's going to be refereeing Thursday night and Friday night at the Grizzly game and at the Hustle game.
There you go.
He's out there plugging away, man. He's retired he worked for his whole life for Federal Express, and he's finally retired from there, and all he does is golf and still referee. So
living the dream.
And you mentioned Terry Funk. Now, I got to tell you this.
We got to tell this story for sure.
This story. Somehow, I don't know when it started, but a few weeks ago, I got a telephone call, and I answered the call, and there's some guy that, I don't know, he sounded like maybe a Middle Eastern guy or something like that, and all of a sudden he says, "I'm so mad at you. Your daughter kicked my dog." And I'm going, "I don't even have a daughter." He said, "Oh, yes, your daughter, she came in my yard. She kicked my dog. Now my dog has to go to the veterinarian." And he just goes on, and I'm trying to argue with this guy, and I'm talking away. And anyway, finally, I realized after about 15 minutes of arguing with this, what turned out to be a non-person, it was actually a recording. It was a prank call, and I wasn't even talking to a person. It was just this robocall thing. And so Lauren somehow found the app, and it's pick the microphone up there, Lauren, for just a second. What's the app? What's it called?
Prank Dial.
Prank Dial. Mm-hmm. Anybody ever heard of Prank Dial? Okay, Prank Dial apparently is this app where you can put somebody's number in, and it'll come up. It'll call them, and you can also put in the message or the kind of prank that you want to put. Yeah, you can customize it where they say the person's name that you're calling, and the classic one is that she pulled this morning on Jim Blake, I guess the guy that worked for me, and then she pulled on her dad, and then just one after another. Come on in, join the party. But anyway, there's one where somebody called you and said that you're bumped into their car, you scratched their car and left your telephone number on their windshield. Yeah, and so she called my friend of 30-something years, Jim Blake, and he works for me, and he was in the other room in our house making out bills and stuff. So all of a sudden his phone rings, and we hear him answer it, and suddenly he's getting pranked by this call from this guy saying that he left scratched his car and left his number, and Blake saying, I did not scratch anybody's car, and I didn't leave my telephone number on anybody's windshield. And then all of a sudden the guy says, you got State Farm Insurance, right? He said, yeah, I do. He said, I call your insurance company. And he said, I don't care who you call. So it's really a funny thing.
Starts cussing the guy and really getting at it.
Yeah, so anyway, it's a pretty funny thing. But then Lauren, did she prank you?
Yeah, she pranked me.
But
it didn't work.
She pranked Glenn, and it didn't really work. But then she confessed and told Glenn about prank call.
Yeah, the app.
Prank dial.
Prank dial.
And now Glenn this morning has become prank dial monster. Who's the first person you prank dial this morning?
Well, Terry Funk. So
look, now the only reason Glenn has Terry Funk's telephone number is because I called him one time to get him to do this podcast. And Terry Funk, who he and I don't really get along that well.
No,
but anyway, he was
Bill
gracious
Apter
enough.
Gave me Terry Funk's number.
But anyway, you shouldn't have Terry Funk's number, really.
I have his home and cell phone.
And
So
the
how
first
did
person he
Terry's work
calls to prank dial is Terry Funk.
Well, you have to pay a certain amount to get like your number hidden when they prank call.
You get tokens.
Yeah, but I'm not going to buy tokens. I'm cheap. I'm not going to buy tokens. So
Look,
I'm like,
he came down on a $25 bus ride from Cleveland. You don't think he's going to buy tokens for a
$4
prank
for
call to you?
tokens. So I'm like, Terry doesn't know my number by heart, obviously. So I'm going to call Terry and see what happens. So it rings, no answer. 5 seconds later, Terry Funk calls back. So I'm on the phone with Terry like for an hour and a half because
Oh, so you got pranked.
I got
trying to prank
reverse
Terry
prank.
Funk.
So I'm on the phone with Terry, just talking to him. I tell him that people love the podcast when he came on. He's talking about his wife. He's talking about the weather. Hour and a half goes by. I'm on the phone with Terry Funk. I'm like, Terry, Jerry and I are about to record a podcast. Oh, that bleeping hole. He's talking bad about you.
Yeah, he does not ever say anything good about me.
So he goes, I'm going to call back during the podcast and later this month.
Oh, okay.
He'll be back on the show later this month. So I got pranked.
So you didn't,
prank.
you got reverse prank because he didn't answer your prank call.
But he called back.
Basically, everybody go get Prank Dial app, and you get 3 free pranks a day.
Ooh.
So daily, you can prank 3 people.
Well, I pranked you then.
Yeah. What did you call? What was the one on me?
It was like a hot girl. Where are you, Jared? Come
Oh
on.
yeah,
I was waiting for you.
Well, the
it
one that
didn't
I
sound
did
real.
on Glenn today was Emily from Tinder. But
Yeah.
he just got quiet. I think he was blushing. But then he called her back after.
Oh, did
Did I?
you?
He called the number back.
You pulled a Terry Funk, huh?
You said you
think I
called the
did.
number back.
It was like it was a prank down. That's how I found out about the app. So
Okay. Well, that's enough about that.
yeah. So
What
speaking
did
of
Terry Funk call me?
a bleeping hole, there's kids here. I can't say.
Oh, you're right.
Say it.
Don't say that.
Yeah, can't say that.
Did anybody hear the episode when we had Terry Funk on? And he cussed so much you couldn't edit it all out, could you?
Well, there's one. No, I left it all in.
Whew.
The one person that's now on the show is Kenny Bolin.
No, he's an idiot. Anyway, don't even mention his name.
I'll bleep that out.
No, you don't have to.
bleep
That's
his, No,
okay.
we'll bleep his name out.
I don't mind mentioning Kenny's name. He's
So, like I said, we have a little mini studio audience here. We have people walking in, actually, that had no clue that you're going to be here recording, ordering food. So we're opening it up to people who want to come. Well, there, yeah. We got a TV here at the restaurant, and this replays famous
old matches.
Jerry Lawler moments throughout wrestling history. And Ric Flair and Jerry Lawler, Lance Russell are on the screen right now. This is the impromptu match against Ric Flair. That's the one person that I think a lot of people email the show about is asking you, like, that's Rick is one guy that you didn't really have many bouts with.
No, we didn't. We didn't wrestle. And the main reason was, during the height of our popularity with our Memphis wrestling, we were AWA, or either had our own, but we recognized the AWA world champion. After, first of all, was the NWA, and then we just went so many times with the NWA champions and never could get a title change or anything. So then we started doing the AWA, and I really loved, working with Nick Bockwinkel. Nick Bockwinkel, to me, was the epitome of what a world champion should be like. This guy, it's had such class, such a great wrestler, and just presented himself with such dignity that you really believe that this guy was a true world champion. So we worked with the AWA up until then, when I won the title from Kurt Hennig. But yeah, Ric Flair came through a few times, and I think he worked a big match with Coco Beware here in Memphis one time. But as far as he and I having world title matches, not very many.
There was an ESPN 30 for 30 on Rick recently, and Rick lives the gimmick. He lives that persona.
Yeah.
Working with him.
That's not a gimmick with Rick. That's the real Ric Flair, whatever you see.
When he came in, as who he is, Ric Flair, he's height of his career. Was he a guy behind the scenes maybe hard to work with, or did he come in like welcoming ideas to what you guys want to do or whatnot, or was he kind of stubborn?
No, I don't remember him being stubborn or anything. But I mean, that was the match that we're looking at right there was a TV show. I mean, it was a TV match, right. And he got there like, maybe 30 minutes before we went on the air, and so there was not a lot of dealing with him behind the scenes or anything like that. And then, as soon as the show was over, he was gone again. So it was, but no, Rick was he was not hard to work with or stubborn or anything. He was pretty cool.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah. I figured Rick's a good guy to. Well, you're not a party yourself, so you didn't have any party stories with Ric Flair.
No, other than, of course, being on the plane ride from hell with him. That was quite an experience.
Which is episode number, I don't know the number, but we have all episodes
talked
devoted
about that before, yeah.
to Plane Ride from Hell, which was one of our highest downloaded shows. People love hearing about that tale even, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
No more.
Is that how long ago it was?
I think 15 years ago, yeah. 2002. So now 16 years.
Yeah.
Can't believe that. That long. Been that long.
I'm arguing in my head whether I should tell the one flattering thing that I always thought was flattering that he told me, but then I can't say. I don't. Lauren is here, and I don't want to talk about that.
Oh boy, now you have to say it.
No, I don't have to say it. Well, no, I mean, but I think it was what year was the plane ride from hell?
2002.
2002.
Yeah.
So that was a long, long time ago, baby. But anyway, apparently after when we landed, everybody went to the hotel and everything, and the flight attendants came and were at the hotel. And so, no, it was just no big deal. But anyway, for some reason, one of the flight attendants was sitting, like, on my lap or something like that. Look, Lawrence, it doesn't surprise me, no. But anyway, so Ric Flair just comes walking by. Now, here's the guy that said, how many women was he supposed to have been with? 10,000.
10,000.
Yeah. But anyway, Ric Flair comes walking by and sees the girl on my lap, and he turns around and he says, "Everybody, when it comes to women, King is my hero."
Wow.
So that was, but it really
years ago,
and a lot. It wasn't anything.
A whole different lifetime, basically. Yeah, May 5th, 2002.
Wow,
that's the date. So
some of that I can remember just like it was yesterday. Like Michael Hayes getting his haircut, ponytail cut off.
X-Pac.
Yeah.
And then it was on the wall.
Yeah, he still
really.
Yeah, Michael Hayes thought I did it for a long time, and I think still holds it against me. I don't know. I think he holds a grudge about sort of maybe the fact that I think he knew I knew who did it and didn't tell right away. No, nobody was going to stooge.
Well, that's kind of like bad for you because you're the only sober person on the plane, so you know what was going on, and people trust you because you're the only sober person on the plane, like I said. So.
Yeah.
If you didn't, well, you're not going to give anybody up. You're not like that.
Well, I know, but I mean, he thought that the most important thing in the world to him was his ponytail, and that being cut off was important enough to give somebody up for. He wanted to know who did it.
Well, I heard the story that it was on the wall the next day at taping for sale.
I heard that, but I didn't actually see it. But I heard that was there too. I don't know about that part. Yeah, one of the other guys that I was so surprised, Jerry Briscoe. On that flight, Jerry Briscoe and he was kind of sitting up in the front because he was one of the agents or one of the one of the people that was supposed to be keeping everybody in line and everything. And
JR was supposed to too.
Yeah, well, everybody was hammered. They were drunk on this flight. And Jerry Briscoe kept trying to kiss everybody. And I can remember him like crawling over a seat, and I'm going, quit, Jerry, quit. And he just wanted to kiss everybody on the seat.
Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, it was funny. But anyway, enough about that flight.
That's a whole other episode we did.
Way old news.
Yeah, way old news. We did an episode all on that. But I want to open up to two guests here at the restaurant. People who have traveled miles, hours to get here. I'm sure they have some questions. Now, we had a rule for people wanting to ask you a question. Obviously, all wrestling questions. But
what?
People want wrestling questions. They want to come on and ask you wrestling questions. But we want to add in a little spice to this. We want to add in a non-wrestling question.
Yeah.
So if you're going to come on.
Well, I actually wanted to add the rule: no wrestling questions.
Well, we gotta make it wrestling centric.
Okay.
It's a wrestling podcast.
Oh, I see.
But if you're going to ask a question, you have to ask one of each.
Okay.
So.
And we got our first gentleman that we're going to talk to. Grab the mic there, Muck. Is a good friend of mine, and you need to get rid of that cup. Good friend of mine that has been around Memphis.
My whole life.
I was going to say as long as I have, but you're not as old as me. But yes, your whole life, right, Muck?
I'm born and raised here. That's
born
right.
And raised. This is Muck Sticky.
Thank you.
And Muck, the first time there was a little bit of an applause there,
Not
not
bit.
much, but a little bit. But anyway, the first time you and I crossed paths, you were doing music. Is that what you started out doing in Memphis? Music?
Yeah, I've pretty much just made music since about 1999. In fact, I got started in my music sort of through wrestling. My first shows were a combo of music and wrestling at the New Daisy Theater down on Beale Street with Little Hollywood and all those guys. But yeah, I've just about to start on my 20th musical album here pretty soon.
Man, now what type of? How would you describe the type of music you were doing when you started? What would that be called?
I call it feel-good music because the whole point behind it is to help people laugh and feel good, whether it's something that's positive and motivational or whether it's something comical and crazy.
And one of the coolest things that I remember that Muck Sticky did was, and I don't know what you can fill us in, but you actually bought a mechanical band or something. Like where was that from? There used to be a restaurant that had these mechanical bears, or what were they?
We had started to work on a tour with the Rock and Fire Explosion from Showbiz Pizza
Anybody
Place.
remember Rock and Fire Explosion?
Yeah.
No? Where was it?
It was what Chuck E. Cheese was before Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, it used to be Chuck E. Cheese before it was Chuck E. Cheese.
I remember meeting you first on the golf course.
Oh my gosh,
we
that's
became
right.
friends. A couple of mutual friends played golf, and we got in a round together one day. And
you were a better golfer than me. I was just out there hacking away. But anyway, can you imagine seeing Muck Sticky up on a stage singing, and behind him was all of these what were they? Was the bears, or what were they?
Well, actually, when you probably saw my first show, it was when I was doing my own mechanical band.
Oh, okay.
They were called Muck Sticky and the Stick Figures, and it was basically different items that I crafted myself. I would put a toy guitar on one and a toy keyboard in front of the other and a little kid's drum set in front of the other. And my first show ever was a battle of the bands, and I didn't have a band. I made all my music myself, so I didn't have a band to play with me. Yeah. And so I created a band.
That's awesome. I loved it. And the kids, then you actually did some children's albums and stuff like that because they love that whole Rock and Fire Explosion.
Yeah, I've done a few kids' albums. Our music is a mixture of a lot of different stuff, and when I'd have some parents come up to me and say, your music's great, and there are several songs on each album that I would love for my kids to hear, but then there are some that are a little more for the adults, and I was like, yeah, okay, well, maybe we should put together an album just for the kids.
And you did.
And I did, and so...
But now lately, though, now you're into, and what we worked together most recently on was a movie.
Yes.
Muck has done a movie, and it's called what?
It's called Dig That, Zebo Newton. It's a story about a small-town misfit who gets bullied.
That's you?
That's me. And he gets fired from his job, rejected by his dream girl, loses his best friend to a terminal illness, and then is threatened with eviction from his home faced with a whole series of dilemmas and then gets kidnapped by the meanest family in town and held prisoner in their barn, where he's forced to finally stand up for himself and face his fears.
And there's one character in the movie that gives you a lot of grief. It was the sheriff, right?
Right, Sheriff Dixon.
Sheriff Dixon.
Who plays Sheriff Dixon?
This guy right here. And I must say, he did a fantastic job. We gave him the script and gave him the date, and he was like, "Yep, I'll be there." Showed up, and I think within 4 hours, we got 3 scenes filmed with you, and the majority of it was filmed out at the Shelby Forest General Store, which is a very famous Memphis landmark.
Yep.
And
My favorite line from the movie, I got to shove Zebo up against the, with his hands up against the police car, the sheriff's
doing a
deputy
pat
car,
down, yeah.
doing a pat down, and I think the line went something like this. I think I said, I will shove my foot so far up your butt that you'll be picking toe jam out of your teeth or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I swear, we've showed a few of the scenes to certain people, and we've showed the whole movie to a few people, and that actually made it in one of the trailers that we released, and so many people have come up to me and quoted that line.
Right.
Like, I can't wait to see the whole scene. I can't wait to see the whole movie. So,
Now, was he a diva on set?
actually,
Own
no.
trailer,
Actually,
makeup person, catering, everything.
he was out of all the actors we worked with, he was probably the easiest to work with.
Wow.
We didn't have to do a lot of takes with Jerry because and several people said this, they'd be like, "Oh, he'd be just over here talking to you," and then when you'd call action, because I directed it, and you'd call action, and he would switch from being Jerry to in character, playing and spitting his lines out just on cue. So I gotta say, one of the more professional actors I've ever worked with.
No, that wasn't the first time you were been as a sheriff in a movie, right? We all know about your previous sheriff role.
There was a movie that it wasn't released; it escaped, and it was called "Girls Gone Dead."
Yeah.
And I was Sheriff Cole in that one. Yeah, Sheriff Cole.
Yeah.
Didn't actually find that out until after I'd cast him as Sheriff Dixon, and somebody was like, he's a sheriff in another movie too. I was like, really? And so we went and looked it up. But I will say there are a lot of Memphis legends. We wanted this movie to be full of Memphis legendary icons, and of course Jerry being one of the most notable ever to come out of the city of Memphis. We also have Willie Too Big Hall from the Blues Brothers, drummer from the Blues Brothers, plays a big role. Keith Sykes, a legendary Memphis drummer. Memphis songwriter. We have Amy LaVere, Al Capone, Frazier Boy and Lil White, Wayne Sweeney from the band Saliva, just a ton of extraordinary Memphis talent. And
So when the movie gets out sometime this summer, everybody needs to check it out.
Yeah.
Zebo Newton.
Yeah, you can go to ZeboNewton.com right now and see
The trailer.
trailers.
The trailer's
and
awesome.
that kind of thing. So,
Okay. All right, man. Muck, thanks for coming.
Thanks
Any
for
other
having me on your
questions? You got
show.
anything else you want to talk about? Get off your chest. I
I
love
do
those
have.
pants you're wearing. Those have
Thank you. My Heat is on chili pepper
Heat
pants.
is on chili pepper pants. That's nice.
Yeah, I hold the unofficial world record of wearing pajamas for the most consecutive days. I'm up to like 5,600 and something now, I think.
Wow.
So,
Officially?
officially.
Wow.
Guinness won't actually record it because it's not something they can
Verify.
and see right in front of them or whatever. But I have a non-wrestling question for you.
Okay.
Will you ever make any more music?
Ooh.
Oh, that is a good question. And I get begged to do some songs and stuff down at the club. We have live music down at our club on Beale Street every single day. And this is the truth. I used to enjoy it. Never claimed to be a good singer or anything like that. But it's just through the notoriety of being a wrestler and everything, we were able to go in the studio with a bunch of great musicians. I mean, in the past, and do some cool music stuff. I mean, worked with Knox and Jerry Phillips at Sun Studios, and some really good musicians. We had Memphis Horns on. We had Robbie Turner, one of the best steel guitar players ever in Nashville, and of course, Tom and Mark and Richard, the Nunnery Brothers, Jimmy Hart and the Gentrys. All of these people we worked with on music over the years, and just basically had a good time, doing it.
Yeah.
But, and I haven't told too many people this, but to be honest with you, when I had the cardiac arrest in 2012 in Montreal, I was sitting there at the announce table, sitting next to Michael Cole, and I just wrestled the match. And I'm looking up, and I think it was Kane and Daniel Bryan were in the ring wrestling. And I'm watching the match, and just, no warning, didn't feel bad or anything like that. And I blinked my eyes, and when I open them again, I'm looking at Lauren standing over me. I'm in a hospital bed, and I got a ventilator down my throat. And it seemed like just 1 second had gone by, and here I was. I'd had the cardiac arrest. And apparently what happened when they put that ventilator down my throat, I was like, my heart didn't beat for 22 minutes. It just, thank goodness the doctors and paramedics there in Montreal kept doing CPR and kept the blood going through my body with that. But anyway, they shoved this ventilator down my throat, and if you can tell, even right now, I'm real self-conscious about it. But it damaged my vocal cords, and it's never really healed. And it's just like I have this awful raspy voice, and I can't, even if I try to sing like I used to be able to sing, I can't even do it anymore.
I can understand that, but Tom Waits I love his voice. You know what I mean?
It's raspy, isn't it?
But I think it would be cool if you'd be down for it. I'd like to make a song.
Well, I'll get Tom Nunnery is.
Give it a
Tom
try.
Nunnery is he's been on me like crazy. So maybe I'll get you and Tom together, and we'll go in the studio somewhere and
Sounds
give it a
good.
try.
Well, there's been renewed interest since our Jerry Lawler Sings episode, where we reviewed the classic Jerry Lawler songs of days of old. That was a good episode, though. A lot of people enjoy that episode of we going back playing some music.
Well, it was a lot of fun. Now, my fiance Lauren is an awesome singer. She is really great and sings primarily country music. And we got to, we did, mostly her. I just kind of, because of my voice. But we got to go in the studio just not long ago in Nashville on Soundstage Studios. And with the...
duet?
We'll just tell me, who were some of the famous...
John
Schneider, of course, from Dukes of Hazzard, right? We went in and they recut. He brought together a bunch of musicians and singers, and they recut the theme song from Dukes of Hazzard.
Good old boys. It was a Waylon Jennings charity event.
Yeah.
So Tanya Tucker.
Tucker was there singing. Who else?
Steve Warner.
Bobby Bear.
Colin Ray. Just a lot of great songwriters and singers from just the early
they just had us all in the studio, and everybody sang. They have one big microphone there, and everybody sang and recut the version, and Lauren got to sing on that. That was cool.
It was pretty cool.
But that was my most recent attempt at any music, right?
Well, there's a song recently with your son, Brian Christopher.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Well, that was a long time ago? How long was that?
It's been within 5 years.
Oh.
That was before the cardiac arrest.
Puppies.
Yeah, my son Brian and I did. I don't know who wrote it, but we did a song called Puppies.
Puppies?
Puppies. Now, see, Muck doesn't know the history of the word puppies with me, do you?
I don't.
Well, what happened there was back in the Attitude. What are you laughing at over there? Back in the Attitude Era, I was famous for saying puppies, and I would say.
The following show is a Pod Avenue production. You are cordially invited to have dinner with the King. Pull up a chair and join WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler and Glenn Moore. Enjoy.
Welcome to Dinner with the King, live here in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm Glenn Moore, joined here by WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler, in front of a live audience.
Let's hear from the audience one time.
King Jerry Lawler's Memphis Barbecue Company in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, a lot of people tweet at the show, email, and say, Glenn, do you go down every week to Memphis to record the show? People think we're gonna reveal a little secret for the show. Now that everybody knows.
Pulling back the curtain. Ooh, the reveal is about to happen.
We have never recorded a show together live. We did a panel at WrestleCon.
Yes, we did.
But that
at
was like
WrestleMania.
an official show.
It went out as a podcast, didn't it?
It was a special episode.
Oh, okay.
Rock
But
and
anyway,
roll.
you and I were together with the Rock and Roll Express live on stage at the WrestleCon of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we never have done a sit-down show together.
In the restaurant.
Correct.
Right.
So this is our first time doing the show face to face, sitting down, just enjoying some barbecue, which we did about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and if everybody's not good on the show, it'll be the last time we do it, right?
Correct.
Right, correct.
So we have audience here. So we're going to have some guests come out. Well, not guests, but special appearances by listeners of the show. We have some Memphians that are here that are notable Memphians, correct?
Yes, and a lot of very good friends of mine have made long trips to be here for this podcast. So I'm excited. I'm thankful that everybody came out today. Give yourselves a round of applause because it's been in the teens. Last night, I think it was 8 degrees here in Memphis. And, people from the South don't do well in cold weather like that.
No.
But everybody has come out today. And look, even outside, look what's going on right outside. Somebody's battery has died right in front of the restaurant in this cold weather, and they're having to get a jump start, hopefully. So anyway, yeah, for everybody to come out and be here today with this bad weather, we really appreciate it.
So speaking of who came, we have some people here from Memphis, but I'm from Cleveland, obviously. We have some people here from where, Mississippi?
Mississippi. Over in West Memphis, I think.
Nice. I have a lot of my albums printed by Audiographics Masterworks, and I remember when I was having, I think it was my first one done,
Yeah.
I remember seeing on their rack one of your CDs.
Was that Lewis Willis at the time, back in the day? Or maybe.
I think I was after.
Yeah, that was Lewis. Glenn is showing me an old picture of me on the stage
That was
singing.
from Mark, just now.
Oh, well, thank you, Mark. I used to have an Elvis jumpsuit apparently that
Look at that.
I wore when we sang.
Look at that, yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, that's the music. So, Muck, if we
All
decide to do something else, you're the man. Okay.
All right, sounds good. I'm all for
There
it.
you go.
All right. Who's there next?
Who's next special appearance? I want to come ask the king. Come, Eddie, Eddie here. We got the biggest fan of the show here.
Come over here, Eddie.
Come on, Eddie. Eddie usually always sends me a DM after every show to let me know not what I did wrong, but he adds his own little notes to the show.
Oh,
so
do you?
he's
I didn't
the
know
biggest, and
Helping
usually
out.
it's within like a couple hours that the show's released. Like he's probably the first one to listen to the show each and every week.
He's like the biggest Jerry Lawler fan. Everybody on Twitter knows him.
Yeah, what's your Twitter handle, Eddie?
King Lawler fan.
King Lawler
So,
fan, and
yeah.
You know what? My phone is full. I tried to pull up one the other day, and all of a sudden it said memory full, and I've got to delete some stuff. But he creates some of the greatest. Are they GIFs or what do they call them?
GIFs, GIFs,
GIFs.
same thing.
The little picture with Santa Claus the
Yeah,
other day.
the pictures. and
Y'all
stuff.
traded the crown and the Santa hat?
Yes, absolutely. But Eddie is. You're from Jackson, Tennessee, right?
Yes, sir.
And,
Jackson, Tennessee.
How long you been watching wrestling?
Since I was 8-year-old.
How old are you now?
Do I have to say that?
No, you don't have to say. You don't have to say.
This is going worldwide.
Yeah, you're right. That's right.
What did Eddie's daughter bust out on him the last time they were here?
Uh-oh. You remember that?
Yes.
What was this?
His daughter let it out that he has like a Jerry Lawler. She says it was like a Jerry Lawler shrine.
Oh, a shrine.
Yeah.
Oh. Her words,
That
yeah.
his man cave is like all Jerry Lawler.
Well, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I have some.
He wants
several
a lock
friends-
of your hair.
You know James.
No,
James
let's don't go
Carville.
that far.
James Carville. He has a Jerry Lawler
yeah.
shrine in his house, and David Milliken back there is. We're going to talk to him in a minute. He is a sort of
Yeah,
a Jerry
he
Lawler
does.
shrine. I've got. I don't have a Jerry Lawler shrine, but I've got a Batman shrine. I've got a Superman shrine. I've got all kind of. I got some pretty cool shrines too.
Yeah.
It's Jerry Lawler on one side and Elvis on the other. So
That's true.
Two kings.
That number one Elvis
yeah,
fan
yeah.
too.
Two
Kings.
So what's the question? You've come all the
Yeah.
way down here from Jackson,
And it
about
can't-
80 miles.
It can't be wrestling.
We'll give you one
related.
wrestling, one non-wrestling.
Oh, okay. Let me see. If you decided today you was going to stop wrestling, who would the last match be with an active wrestler that you could actually book a match? Who would it be to be your last match?
Oh gosh, that is a good question. Oh. I mean, would that be who do I think I would have just a really
I guess just
good
you could
classic-
say this is
Oh,
it.
say my
want-
last match was
Yeah.
with so and so.
I know who I would want it to be, but
Oh, you tell me that first.
Bill Dundee. That's my favorite
Really?
feud ever.
Yeah,
That's the reason I'm a wrestling fan.
because of me and Bill Dundee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, hey, one time we tried to look it up. Mark, you might know better. How many times do you think Bill and I wrestled against each other? Oh yeah. Well, one time I think we saw tried to figure out, and it was well over 500, close to 600 matches that we probably had against each other. And you're right, some of them were classics. I mean, gosh,
They were.
You know, his hair against my hair, and my hair against his wife's hair, and it's all just if there was any kind of stipulation. We wrestled each other so many times we had to keep coming up with new stipulations. See you all, Muck Sticky, and out of the house. Bye-bye. But anyway, we I don't know. You know, we've had so many different kinds of matches. I don't know if there would be another one that I would like to say that we could come up with. Now, you know what? I guess a retirement match would be the way it would need to be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there you go. Retirement.
Who would I want to lose a retirement match to? Oh gosh. And they got to still be active, right?
Well, that way it could happen, I guess. You know, active wrestler.
Yeah.
Like a Tommy Rich or Bill Dundee. You know, people still wrestling.
And you're talking about Memphis wrestlers.
It don't matter.
You're not
Just
talking about a guy like a John Cena or a,
yeah, just your personal.
Yeah, John Cena. Randy Orton's good. Randy Orton would be good too. And let me ask you. That's such a good question.
Well, mine would be
Who would you say, Glenn?
Terry Funk.
Oh my gosh! You know what? Terry Funk would probably.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be
Last match in Shelby County.
Who?
Shinsuke.
What's his name?
Against this one.
Shinsuke Nakamura. Who I did not mispronounce it, but some people claim
did.
that. What?
Live on a pre-show.
No,
you did.
I did not.
Yes,
I
you
said
did.
Shinsuke.
No, you did.
And somebody thought I said something
Yeah,
Stain.
something else.
And
Yeah.
I didn't.
Something else.
This was on live.
Live TV.
But no, it wouldn't be Shinsuke. Guys, I think Terry Funk would probably be the guy.
Yeah.
Braun Strowman.
Jeez.
Bill Dundee? David Milliken over here
I'd
says
rather
Bill
see
Dundee.
that than anything else. I figured you would say Terry Funk, but yeah, I say Bill Dundee.
Bill, everybody's voting Bill Dundee. Well, you know what? We could probably make that happen one of these days.
Yeah.
Actually, Caroline says no.
Oh.
There you go. I agree. She doesn't want both her favorite wrestlers to go against
you
each
can't
other.
do that. So Terry Funk then.
Terry Funk.
So we had to pick Terry Funk.
That'd be great.
All right. What's the other question that's not wrestling?
We'll do it. I'll see with art. If you had to do an art cover for anything, what would be your dream art cover?
Oh, Superman.
I knew that.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Superman.
Okay.
That would be cool. And then second, Batman.
Yeah.
But yeah. I have a good friend, Neil Adams, who's just probably the most amazing Batman artist ever and great Superman. Just a great DC comic artist. To do something with him would be an awesome
Be your
thing.
dream, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
What's your favorite Jerry Lawler moment, Eddie?
Favorite moment? That's tough. The match with him and Bill, the Loser Leave Town, is my favorite match ever.
Yeah.
That's my favorite match of all of them. Beats the Kurt Hennig, the Kerry Von
Yeah.
Erich. I mean, those are great matches. But you and Bill always had that edge. When y'all was in there together, it would seem like it was more of an edge against each other.
Because we really didn't like each other.
Yeah, I know. And y'all were professional enough not to let it get out of hand, but you could always tell that it was a little edgier than the rest of it.
Yeah, I get maybe I don't know what that would be described as, professional jealousy or something. I don't know. I think that's what I felt about Bill, that that he was always just a little bit jealous of the fact that when he came along that I didn't just step aside or whatever. But anyway, it was a great run.
I think Jerry Jarrett knew that too, and I think that's why he.
That's why he kept booking those
yeah,
matches.
I think that's why he booked that.
You're
he
probably
knew that.
right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Eddie, and
Yeah,
thank you for
appreciate
coming all
it,
the way
y'all.
and stick
Thank
around.
y'all.
Yeah.
Who's next? Who wants to be next?
To speak to the king here.
Any questions? Good question. You? All right, these guys. We got twins.
Twins. We got twins in the house.
Here. Grab the microphone. You guys sit down right there. Hey, man.
Twin magic. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Hey, good. How are you?
All right, identify yourselves. Tell everybody
Yeah.
that's listening what your names are.
Share a microphone. There
Yeah.
you go.
My name is Ted Baker. My name is Todd Baker.
Ted and Todd
Ted
Baker,
and
the
Todd.
Baker brothers. Did you guys make a movie one time?
The Fabulous Baker Boys. We
yeah,
sure did.
Baker Boys. There you go. And you guys are from where?
We're from here, yes, sir.
Oh, awesome. So is this the first time you've been to the restaurant?
No, we've been several
We come
times.
here once or
Yeah,
twice a week.
at least.
We
Yeah.
live not too far from
Awesome.
Love it.
Regular
Love the
customers.
food. Love it.
They know us too. They know us.
all our
All the regulars.
our people that work for us here at the restaurant know you guys. That's
Yes,
good.
sir.
All right, what are we going to go first?
Well,
Wrestling or non-wrestling?
I would have a wrestling question if that's all right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you. The WWE did a King of the Ring tournament at one point. Did you ever get considered to win that tournament since you were the king of wrestling?
Well, I think that I believe that first time I made my first appearance in the WWE, they were doing the King of the Ring tournament, and I wasn't. I just came along, and that's where when Bret Hart won the King of the Ring, I came in and busted the throne and the scepter and the crown and all of that stuff on that first thing. But then years later, I don't even think I was ever even in a King of the Ring tournament, was I?
I believe you were in the '97
Oh, was I?
tournament,
Yeah,
and
I
you
think
fought
you were- I think you were one,
Mankind. Is that correct? Mankind, I think you fought.
Yeah,
and you threw a drop kick.
You guys know. Hey, I just threw a drop kick the other night. No big deal. You guys know more about that than I did. You know what? I just it was almost like they always referred to me as the king, and then the King of the Ring was almost a separate thing,
okay.
and it was where it would always create interest, especially once I was doing the commentary with whoever won the King of the Ring tournament. Then I would always have, there would be a sort of a little friction there, animosity. I remember like with Wade Barrett and some of the different guys,
yeah.
But and then like I remember one year Owen Hart won it, and then he and I were like, big buddies. That takes a king to know a king and all that sort of stuff. But no, as far as like being considered to win it or anything like that, I never ever once went and asked anybody, hey, what do you got planned? What are you planning to do with me? And then that's not to say I think most wrestlers do that, but I never in my entire career went to anybody and said, hey, can you do this with me, or what do you got planned for me? I just was never one of those guys. Okay. And that may be one of the reasons I didn't get to do a whole lot of stuff, but because it seems like some of the times the guys that like the squeaky wheel gets oiled, yeah. So that's it works for some people, but I didn't like it ever feel like it would work for me. So no, I never went and asked about being the King of the Ring.
First round, you pinned Goldust.
Oh,
And then the semifinals, you lost to Mankind, like they said, via submission by the Mandible Claw.
was it the Mandible Claw? Probably.
You almost had it.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh well.
All right, so
Anyway, and is this going to be a non-wrestling?
This will be
question?
the wrestling one. Is that okay?
Two guys.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, you're fine.
Both wrestling. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, you had such a good feud with Bret Hart that year. Were you ever bummed that it didn't go to WrestleMania? Because I thought that would have been cool. I liked the feud you had with Bret Hart.
I did too, and that was one of the few guests that we've had on the show
Yeah.
was Bret Hart, and he talked about at the time, honestly, and I think it got better over the years, but at the time when Bret and I was wrestling, I really feel like Bret didn't think that I was like a worthy guy to be in a program with him, and so I don't know if that's the reason it didn't go further than it did. But then later on, when he was on the show, he goes back and admits that was one of the most fun and enjoyable and biggest talked about feuds. Or Vince doesn't like the word feud, so we have to use the word rivalries. Yes. So that was one of the biggest rivalries that he admits that he had there as well. So but yeah, I was bummed every year when I didn't get a WrestleMania match, and by the time I did get one with Michael Cole, I thought that the WrestleMania was just completely off the table anyway. So I was really excited to get that, and but yeah, because back in that time, if you were in a match with Bret Hart and featured in a match like that at WrestleMania, that would have been big. Mm-hmm. Not just big bucks, but I mean, that would have been big everything. I mean, my WrestleMania match with Michael Cole, the biggest payoff ever in my whole career.
Wow.
For that 10-minute
One
match.
night trick, that's not bad.
Not bad
Yeah,
at all.
not bad at all. Not bad.
But you still lost.
I did not lose that match. It was
According
that
to the
was-
anonymous Raw general manager.
Yeah, it was a reversal of a decision that I actually won the match.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stone Cold was the referee, and he raised my hand in victory.
It's funny because at the bar and grill, they had the mural of you celebrating with the beers in your hand, and you have never taken a sip of alcohol. Just open them up, crash them together, give them back to Stone Cold.
That's what I did. Open them up, bang them together, out of the beer everywhere, and
that was it.
Throw them out.
That was it.
Yeah, Stone Cold would be the one that would turn up the beers.
Yeah,
but not me.
Definitely.
Okay, so the non-wrestling question, Brian's a good wrestler, and Kevin, he promotes. I know you promoted for a while. Did they ever inherit? Were they ever good drawers? Like, did they ever inherit?
Artistic ability. Yes,
actually.
Kevin,
they draw well.
My son Kevin is an excellent artist. I mean, really, really good. Not quite as good as me, but he's really a good artist. And one time he had me take this. He would spend a lot of time creating characters, and he came over to my house one day, and he had this thick note portfolio book of just page after page of all of these wrestlers that he had drawn the character and created the name and all of these different things. I mean, like maybe 100 of them. And he asked me to take it to Vince McMahon and just see if any of these ideas were worthy. And so I did take it up and show it to somebody. I don't know who. I don't think I actually got to give it to Vince, but somebody at the time looked at it, and nothing really ever came of it, other than I do remember one of the characters was called the Ringmaster. Yeah, and somehow Ringmaster showed up a year or so later, but then Kevin never got any credit for it. But there were a lot of guys. And Kevin created. He also drew and then created the very first character that Glenn
Jacobs.
Glenn Jacobs, it was Kane. That Kane was ever in a wrestling ring as the Christmas creature. That was my son Kevin's creation,
really?
And he drew the character out, and then he got Glenn and put all of this green and red head to toe mask and outfit, and then covered him with garland. And Glenn to this day, I mean, he won't deny it, but yeah, he hates the fact he don't like anybody to mention the Christmas creature.
He once stopped an interview on radio and hung up the phone when the guy asked him about the Christmas creature.
Really?
Yeah. And the PR guy from WWE's like, oh, he's gone. Sorry. He hung up the phone. Yeah. Well, he will not talk about it.
If he's listening to this podcast right now, he probably stopped listening.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Unsubscribe.
But yeah, Kevin is a very good artist. Yeah.
Well,
Brian can draw a little bit too, but not like Kevin. Yeah. But yeah, Kevin's top notch.
Well, I've got one other question that's non-wrestling related.
Okay.
I know you're a big Coca-Cola drinker. Do you like any of the mixed flavors? Do you have a favorite that whenever you do the mixed drinks here?
Our machine here will, I don't know, Will is back there. Anybody that's working? Is any of our workers gone home? No, is there anybody here? I think that this machine, it's just one nice big Coke machine, and I think the guy told me that you can create 670 different flavors out of that one machine.
You've tried them all, correct?
No, I've not tried them all. No. But I have done a few little mixtures, but I'm pretty much just a Diet Coke.
Diet Coke.
Yeah, I've switched to Diet Coke.
I like caffeine-free Coke. That's me.
Yeah.
Why would you even drink a Coke if it's caffeine-free?
I don't know. I love the taste. I'm not really sure
I
why.
want the caffeine. I gotta drink the Coke with caffeine.
Yeah, there you go. Well, guys, thank you so much,
Yeah,
and
thanks for coming on.
Thanks for being here today. The Baker Brothers.
Thank you, sir.
Now, who's
Dave on?
next?
Let's get Dave on.
Dave. Well, you guys next. Dave, you come first. Oh, what? Huh?
We're an hour, so.
Okay. Come on, Dave. This is our longtime friend. Our longtime friend, David Milliken. And David has come all the way from Alabama here today. And you probably had other business. You didn't just come just for this, did you?
I always try to tie it in with, I still buy all of my leather here in Memphis.
There you go.
For the championship belts that I make. So I tied it in with a leather trip, and my daughter lives about 5 minutes from here. So it all works out perfect.
Perfect. Now, Glenn, I know you probably don't know the real history of David Milliken. I mean, you know kind of what he does.
On Twitter,
but I mean, everybody that's listening now is probably a wrestling fan of some sort. So everybody that's listening, even though they may not know Dave, they know of his work. Because what are you famous for creating as far as wrestling fans go?
I've made a lot of championship belts for WWE, lip sync battle television. So I mean, even non-wrestling stuff. Like lip sync battle television. Just finished one for Jason Aldean.
Yep.
Which was a Christmas present from his wife. So if it's belt related, I'm probably, with a lot of thanks to the King, the most well-known guy in that profession, I would say.
Exactly, without a doubt, the most well-known guy. Now, you start out, there was a wrestler from the past who obviously was your hero and has become your mentor and close friend, Reggie Parks.
Exactly.
And he was the first one that, he was probably the most famous one that made belts in the past.
Absolutely.
And then how did you inherit the business of creating the belts for the WWE from Reggie Parks?
There was a gap there. Reggie had stopped in '96, and I was already making belts and doing some work with Reggie at the time. And it just kind of I never really went back, as you know. I never asked you to help me with that, and I just kind of let them come to me. I just it was almost like being in the wrestling business itself. I kind of worked the indies for a while, and then until they finally came and they offered me a deal, and it worked out great because Reggie Parks and I had formed this partnership to protect all the old classic designs from the 70s and 80s and so forth. And so now, even though I've only got 2 belts on WWE TV right now, I'm still probably the best paid belt maker because of my licensing deal with them. So
right.
But how it came about, though, is Reggie just opened those doors for me. I ordered a belt from him, and from there said, "Hey, I do what you do." And showed him some pictures, and he says, "Well, there's a better way," and he opened those doors for me and taught me a lot.
What do you think is the most? Or maybe the most famous belt you created for the WWE, or the one you're most proud of?
For the WWE, it would be the one that The Rock debuted several years ago, which is kind of like the current World Championship design now. But it was the older logo, the logo before this one.
Right, but mainly the big W.
The big W, yeah. That one because The Rock debuted it, and I was when Rock came through Memphis as Flex Kavana, that USWA tag belt, that was his very first belt, had my name on the back of it, and then his very last belt in wrestling had my name on it. So that's pretty cool. And then not only that, but after that, and after he'd gone back out of wrestling, he had one of my lip sync battle belts.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, but the WWE championship that The Rock debuted, that'd be the one that I'd be most proud of, probably.
That was 2013.
Yeah, that's about right.
Who did this? Who did the spinner belt?
That was a guy that probably not too far from Glenn. That was a guy in Ohio.
That was probably the most disliked belt ever in the history of belts.
Yeah, that one and the copper ones that they had me make. The copper tag team
the
belt,
copper
the big
ones
pennies. The big pennies, yeah. Those two were
the
probably
tag team title, yeah.
Right.
But you're responsible for them, huh?
Well, they made me do it.
I heard. Is it true was that a Stephanie request?
Yeah, I was. We had several conference calls about that, and I kept trying. Guys, I can do this so much better. Let me make them silver. Let me make them gold. Let me make them both. And finally, on a conference call, actually, it was a guy named John Jones there, and he said there was crickets for a minute when I said, "Guys, please don't make me do it this way. I can do it so much better." And then there were crickets, and he said, "Stephanie wants copper." It's like, I can do copper.
Yeah, okay.
Copper's all right. I can do that.
No, they look good. They just I think they just think it was just so different from what people had always.
Well, it's not exactly known as a prestigious medal, you know.
Yeah,
like
exactly. You're right. Yeah. That was the third place medal, right?
Well, the Cena belt is great for Cena, not for everybody else.
Right.
Absolutely agree.
You know,
Absolutely agree.
I think it was awful.
100% agree.
Yeah. But it hung around past Cena for a long time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, lots and lots of guys that didn't make sense for them.
And something that Lauren thinks is really cool is the fact that you just recently for Christmas made a belt at the request of his wife for Jason Aldean.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Now, what was his championship? What's he the champion of?
Well, Jason's doing okay for himself.
Well, of course.
So he's got a bowling alley in his home now. So,
cool.
So this is the Night Train Ranch Bowling Championship for the Aldean household.
Oh, and he's the champ right now.
Well, I think if I was him, I'd be a champ of my own bowling alley. That's how I'd book it.
Well, that's cool that your belt expertise has expanded, and now it's going out everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
And how did they contact you about doing the lip sync championship?
That came about actually the same way that the Aldean belt came about, through belts I don't even make anymore for the Bellator fighting organization. Brittany Aldean knew knew one of the Bellator fighters, and it was the same thing with the lip sync battle people. Somehow or another, they were connected and knew somebody from Bellator, and they said, "Well, this is a guy you got to go to." So there you go.
There you go.
So,
all right.
people listening, if they want you to make a belt for them, how do they get a hold of you?
You can go to my website, which is aceofbelts.com. That's the easiest way to get there. It's way outdated, but the email address is still good. I don't have time to update it. That's how busy I am.
Yeah.
That or Twitter at Dave Milliken. I answer everything there. So those two, that's the best way to get in touch with me.
There you go.
There you go. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that would love to have a custom-made belt.
Yeah.
Now, what about, I also see, and I think this may be somebody different that does these, but like now everybody that wins a championship, Triple H presents them with a WWE belt with their, like I remember when the Cleveland Indians were playing in the World Series against the Cubs, they showed me that they had already had made a Cleveland Indians championship belt.
Jinxed.
And that jinxes, and then it turned out, of course, they made it. They got one for the Cubs.
Yeah, that's actually how they always do it, just in case, because it takes a little bit of time to do that stuff when the
they have
team
one of each.
One of each, and but the belts though are just the WWE Shop Zone belts. They're just the WWE Shop belts. That's all they are, and they just screw those
stick a custom logo on
the custom side plates on. That's how that's done, because they're not going to spend the several $1,000s a piece to give everybody on a team one of those belts.
Right,
so,
exactly.
Because that would add up pretty quickly.
All right, you've come all this way. Do you have you and I have talked a million times over the years, so there's probably not anything that you could ask them.
I was sitting over there for the last half hour trying to think of something, and I'm like, what? Really? I mean, I'm the guy that you sent the writer, the co-writer of your book to my house to ask me questions. So
Exactly.
I don't have a lot to ask.
Well, I mean, and David, we talked about not. You wouldn't call it a shrine, but David probably has more Jerry Lawler memorabilia than I do.
Which
yeah, Lauren's sitting over there. He has my jacket.
Which jacket?
That was the one that I airbrushed myself. That has.
Now, see, I'm getting blamed for that. I don't even have that one. I don't know.
Don't have that.
It was. Do you have like a baby blue one?
A baby blue jacket.
It's like almost like a little Letterman's jacket type thing. But anyway, the picture that I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I had that jacket. He said, I think Dave Milliken has it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, for many years, what would happen is either I would make a belt or I would fix a belt, because we had a couple in Memphis that would get beat up pretty bad, and I'd fix them up. And
in exchange, in lieu of payment,
right,
we would trade him out some memorabilia.
And Jerry was always such a good guy about it that sometimes he would give me a check anyway, even though I would say, no, just give me a couple of crowns or give me a jacket. So now I've got probably only second to you, I would say. I've got the most jackets and capes and all that sort of stuff that of any collector out there, and that's only growing. Matter of fact, we got one more deal we're talking about.
Yes, we do.
We got one more deal to do.
Another transaction to be made.
Another transaction, yeah.
Now, do you ever get any grief from Eddie about him wanting stuff?
No, Eddie's such a good guy. I keep telling him he used to come to the house and see all that stuff, but no,
Yeah.
Eddie's a great guy. No, gives me no grief whatsoever.
That's awesome. Hey, a paying customer. How are you? Don't mind us. We're just doing a podcast here. All right, Dave. What?
I said, am I done? Is that it?
I think you're done.
Am I getting kicked out?
Okay. Your history. We got some
All
more
right.
people to talk to. Dave,
right.
thanks for being here, man. Appreciate
Yes, sir.
it.
The preceding show is a Pod Avenue production.